Hello and welcome back to day 3 of my 12/12 birthday countdown. I'm Dr. Tasia White, and for today's hard truth, I'm going to talk about a topic that I've talked about in the past. I don't remember if I shared it in a morning message or if it was part of one of my other series, but I feel like it's definitely worth repeating because it has been so instrumental in terms of how I process things and just how I've moved forward since hearing this particular quote. So I was at this conference and one of the speakers said, "The path to excellence and the path to perfection are not the same path." And it was literally as if a light bulb went off in my head because it was so true. I could relate to it. And it sort of gave me an opportunity to relax and take a deep breath and just recognize that I can still strive for excellence without things looking a certain way, without being perceived a certain way, without having my quote unquote ducks in a row. That really resonated with me because it was at a time when there were a lot of things that I was doing and that I was trying to accomplish, and it was beginning to feel a little bit overwhelming. For example, at the time that I heard that, I was the director of my own department for the first time. I was also in a doctoral program, and I had all of these projects and things that I wanted to do both personally and professionally. And I was so focused on making sure that I was doing them perfectly and that it was the perfect timeline and that I had everything, all my ducks in a row. And when I heard this person share that message, it was sort of like I could give myself some grace. I could literally take a deep breath and just relax a little because it ultimately reminded me that there is no perfect path. Not really, especially if what I'm trying to accomplish is something meaningful, something that has some weight to it. As someone who has made significant strides towards shifting away from this idea of perfectionism, I appreciate and recognize that being perfect doesn't really exist. It's sort of this elusive thing that we tell ourselves. It's this thing that society says exists. But when you get right down to it, everybody has their own idea of what perfection is. My concept of perfection and what I was striving towards was just for me. It wasn't for the masses. It wasn't for my colleagues. It wasn't for my staff. It wasn't for my supervisors. It wasn't for my family. It was this thing that I had sort of built up in my head. Once I recognized that, I was able to shift my perspective and recognize that it's not about being perfect. It's about doing something great. It's about striving towards excellence. It's about doing something meaningful at the end of the day. And so by focusing on perfectionism, I was sort of losing sight of my own authenticity and what mattered to me the most because I was so focused on what others would think or what others would want. And to move down that path of excellence, it's really about what are the tools that I have to get there and how am I showing up in a way that's authentic to me? And what is it that I feel that others might need that don't necessarily compromise who I am and what I need? And so it's really about finding a balance, right? When we're traveling down the path of excellence, we're not just taking into account everyone around us, we're also including ourselves in the equation. And that was what was missing from the concept of perfectionism. And so hearing that message has really shifted my perspective in terms of just how I've operated since then. And even when it came to finishing my dissertation, I just kept repeating that message to myself over and over again because there was a part of me that was so focused on making sure that everything was perfectly proofread and that my graphics looked perfect and that all of my notations and everything was perfect. And while there was a standard that I needed to follow, I couldn't allow my obsession with things being perfect to distract me from getting to the ultimate goal of finishing, but also doing so in a timely manner, because I was certainly on a time crunch. And so for me, excellence meant getting it done. So when it comes to understanding the difference between excellence and perfection, I feel like the difference is just recognizing how I show up in a way that is authentic, in a way that is meaningful, in a way that still gets to the ultimate goal without compromising my own feelings, opinions, or perspective on whatever I may be working on at the time. And so even in creating these videos, while I may have a standard for how I want them to look, I also don't spend a lot of time and energy making sure that I say the right thing exactly at the right time, because that's not me. Like, if you can't tell, I don't normally have a script. I found a lot more comfort in just having an outline and speaking from the heart. And so if you've watched my videos, you know that I've said the wrong things, I've stumbled, and while I may have many different tools and resources to sort of help me with structuring and editing so that there is a flow, it still may not be perfect to other people who are listening. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. What is more important to me is the message. And that's the path towards excellence. The important piece to take away from this is that when it comes to the path that we're traveling on, we really have to do our own self-validating. While it's helpful to have a structure and a standard, we shouldn't base that solely on the perceptions and opinions of others, because then that ultimately takes away from who we are and how we may show up in the world, right? And so I encourage you to think about, are you traveling down the path of perfection or the path of excellence? Thank you so much for being here for day 3 of my countdown. I will see you here tomorrow for day number 4. See ya.